Hey, Power Parents, let's talk about boundaries. So, you've told me that you want simple boundaries that actually work for busy parents. So, today we're going to get started. Let's do it. We're going to start with your boundary style. Yeah, you have a boundary style. Did you know that? Kind of like you have a communication style, you have an attachment style, you have a personality style. Your boundary style is going to let you know why your boundary efforts aren't getting the desired results and what is going to be the most effective way to fix it. So knowing your style is super important for your success in your boundary setting efforts, especially for busy parents, because we don't have time to mess around. And so this also dictates how we set boundaries with our children. And so it's going to help with our parenting challenges too. And so you can uncover your boundary style at mindbs.ca/boundary style. And if you haven't done that yet, go do it so that these results that I'm going to go through are going to make the most sense for you because you're going to know which one you fall into. So your boundary style is going to usually align with a lot of your personality traits. And there's like a million different personality tests and a million different ways to categorize your personality traits. Like I talked about communication style and attachment style, but you're also going to see your boundary style and personality tests like the DISC assessment, which is one of my favorites. And it's used most often to work together better in teams. And so I think that one is very aligned with your boundary style because the whole point of your boundary style is to work better together with others, right? Protecting yourself while also making sure that you fit into your societal group. And since we're complex beings, we're never just one thing, right? We're each like unique and weird, and we're a combination of styles and traits. And so you might see yourself in all of the boundary styles that I'm going to describe today, but usually one is more dominant than the others. And knowing this is going to help you to understand yourself and why you do certain things or react in certain ways. Okay. And then you can use that knowledge to find ways to like honor your style and yourself and also find that balance that you're looking for. Okay. So let's go through. There are 4 boundary styles. The first one is the boundary warrior. These are the people who are going to set boundaries without regard for social consequences. You might hear them say that they just don't give a shit because they're going to protect themselves at all costs. And so warriors need to feel in control. And sometimes, in order to protect themselves, they're going to end up like building these walls, right, between themselves and the world. And so the biggest challenge for them is that it actually like it takes a lot of energy to maintain that wall. And that can leave the warrior feeling like exhausted, like setting these boundaries is so hard and it divides them away from the people that they actually want to connect with, but they don't know how to be able to connect with them while also protecting themselves. Okay. And so the warrior's biggest superpower is their ability to be true to themselves. They're not afraid to speak their mind and to guard their heart. And so the warrior is most aligned with the D in the DISC assessment, which is the dominant personality style, and most aligned with the avoidant attachment style. All right, so that's the boundary warrior. At the polar opposite of the spectrum is the easygoing accommodator. These are the people who will do anything for anyone, no matter how inconvenient or impossible or even detrimental it is to them. And so the easygoing accommodator, they just want everyone to like them. They want to feel helpful. They want to feel useful. But this often means that they end up stretching themselves too thin and they forget that they even have needs of their own, right? So their biggest challenge is going to be refilling their own cup so that they can keep serving everyone because that's their biggest motivator. Like, we're not trying to eliminate the boundary style. If you love serving everybody, that's fantastic. But we want to be able to do it in a way that also leaves you feeling replenished and happy and balanced, right? And so the easygoing accommodator is like super hesitant to take time for themselves because they don't actually believe that that's going to serve others. And so the easygoing accommodator aligns mostly with the supporter personality type or the steadiness personality in the disc. All right. So the next boundary style, and the one I happen to fall into, this is the conflict conscious carer. So we're hard workers and we're motivated by having people believe that we're competent, right? But that leaves us in a conundrum because in order to be competent, we need to take the time and space to do a good job, but we also need to be super helpful to everyone and solve everyone's problems all of the time. And so we often find ourselves setting a boundary and then removing them ourselves. Like we might say something like, no, I can't take on anything else. I am swamped, right? But then in the next breath, we're going to say like, okay, fine, I'll do it. No problem. I'll get it done, right? And so it actually leaves us feeling disrespected and resentful. And because we hate conflict, we're always hoping, just hoping that the other person is going to realize that we're swamped, we're at capacity, and they're not going to push us. And we want them to recognize that we're already doing everything. We are already holding up. We feel like we're holding up, the entire unit or whatever, right? With all the hard work that we're putting in. And so conflict conscious carers align most with the fearful avoidant attachment style and often like a thinker personality type and some element of the conscientiousness of the DISC assessment. Okay, and the last style is the harmonious justifier. The harmonious justifier they just want everyone to be happy. Like they are motivated by harmony in their surroundings. And the interesting thing about the harmonious justifier is that they also want and they recognize that they need harmony within themselves. And so they actually do try setting boundaries, which is the biggest distinction between the harmonious justifier and the easygoing accommodator, right? Because they're actually trying to set these boundaries, but they're bogged down by guilt. And so they're stuck. They're stuck between this desire to tend to everyone else's needs and this need to tend to their own needs. And it causes them to over justify their position because they don't ever want the other person to like think it's them. Like they don't want like them thinking that, that they're not liked or whatever. And they just don't want to ruin that harmony between themselves and the rest of the world. And so harmonious justifiers usually fall into the influencer personality type. They're very good at articulating themselves, getting people on side, and they tend to either have a secure attachment style or an anxious attachment style. All right, so those are the 4 boundary styles in a nutshell. So which one do you think you are? It's so interesting to see if the one that you think you are actually ends up what is coming out of the quiz. So you can take the free quiz at mindbs.ca/boundary style and uncover your style. And once you figure that out, then it's much easier to see what's been getting in the way of your boundary efforts and know exactly what tweaks to make to get back on track. Okay, so you know your style, now what? Now what do you do about it, okay? So that's the question. That is a little bit more complicated, and I am working on 2 things to help you from there. So the first one is a 3-day boundary training, and it's going to be all the types together because the key to effective boundary setting, no matter what your style is to first make sure that whatever boundary you're setting actually aligns with who you are and your personal values and what you care about the most. Because what happens is that we tend to do it from our programmed self. Like we think we know what our values are. We think we know, what we should be setting boundaries around, but oftentimes it's a should. Like it's an external what society says our boundaries should be. And so that's not something that I can walk you through in a quick video like this. So I created the No BS Boundary Bootcamp so that our mind BS doesn't get in the way of our boundaries. And that's going to be running April 17th to 19th at lunchtime. And the replays are going to be available anytime, so you can watch them whenever it's convenient for you. If that sounds interesting to you, you want to take the next step and do a 3-day boot camp, it's free and you can sign up at mindbs.ca/bootcamp. And the other thing that I'm working on is going to be a meetup for each of the boundary styles. I think it would be so cool to meet with other people that have the same style as us, right? And then we can talk about our biggest challenges and what has worked for us and all of that. And it's interesting to see other people who just are similar to ourselves. And so I'm going to be setting that up probably after the boot camp because I'm busy right now making the boot camp, all the stuff that needs to happen for that. And so in those meetings, in those meetups, I'm also going to be sharing my number one top tip for each boundary style because each boundary style has a different challenge. And I want to share one thing that you could try right away that is going to be the most, impactful for your particular boundary style. So that's going to be super fun. I can't wait for those. So stay tuned for that. So go do the quiz, mindbs.ca/boundary style. And I'm going to be creating a poll in the Blissfully Busy Facebook group to see how many of us busy parents fall into each category. I'm so curious to see in this group of busy parents, is there a dominant one? Are we just divided equally? It's going to be fun. All right. So, and we're going to keep this boundary thing going for the next few weeks. And so next Self-Care Sunday, we are going to talk about boundaries with benefits, right? All the good stuff like trust and comfort combined with a huge added perk that's going to blow your mind. See you then, Power Parents. Join me in my Blissfully Busy Facebook group to see if we can figure out how to dodge burnout together.